Call this meeting to order. And at this time, please stand if you're able for our national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of its command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
At this time, I'll call on Councillor Hoyle for the land acknowledgement.
Niagara region is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of First Nations such as the Onondaga and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Mantis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island who live and work in Niagara today. The City of Port Colborne stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the land in which we live.
Thank you, Councillor. If I could have Councillors Aquilina and Bodner move the adoption of the agenda with the following changes. Item 13, Mayor's Report, has been moved to before item 8, which is the approval of the minutes. Items 9.1, 24.1, and 24.2, and item 9.9 have been pulled by staff. Item 21.2 will be discussed after 21.4 due to Councillor Bruno's conflict. That's in the in-camera session. Disclosures of interest this evening in this meeting. Any disclosures of interest? Councillor Beauregard, I do have you, and Councillor Bruno. I have Councillor Beauregard on items 7.1, 9.3, and 24.3. Councillor Bruno, as I said earlier, closed session of 21.2. Any further? Okay. Oh, the agenda. Sorry, all those in favor of the agenda? That's carried. Okay. We have item 7.1, which is a proposed stop up and close portion of road network off Barrack Road and Elm Street, 2024-121. CIO, who's taking this?
That is, oh, this is the public meeting for it, sorry.
Yeah.
That was Bram, I think. Bram's gonna come to the podium.
Yeah.
Sorry, you confused me.
Sorry.
It's out of order on my screen.
Go ahead, Mr. Cott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're bringing forward a stop up and close to this public meeting. We have received no comments on the circulated documents to date. If there's anyone in the council chambers that would like to speak to it, they can. This is stop up and close for the area of Elm and Barrack. It's a minor housekeeping issue to deal with a property that has been, the city has declared surplus in the past. We have agreed to a future sale, and during that process discovered that there was a piece of the road that was still open. This is a public meeting for that. This will be coming forward at a future council meeting for council approval.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Cott. Anybody here from the public to speak on this? Seeing none. Questions from council? Seeing none. If I could have councillors Danch and Bruno move the Chief Administrative Office Report 2024-121 be received. that the Economic Development Officer be directed to bring forward a stop up and close bylaw for a portion of Barrack Road and Elm Street registered as a public highway and legally described as part of Lot 29, Concession 2, Humberston being Part 1, Plan 30R-16228, Port Colborne shown in Appendix A, to a future meeting of council for consideration. Again, questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Cotton. All right, so I'm going to go to my mayor's report right now, council, because we do have a presentation which we want to make sure we get our guests out as soon as possible. Friends and relatives gathered at Lakeside Yacht Club on Sunday afternoon to celebrate Joanne Jackson's 100th birthday. Super. What a remarkable achievement that is. So on behalf of City Council and staff, we wish her all the best, and we hope to see her next year for her 101st. I did attend. There was lots of people there. MP Badaway attended as well. Great conversation with Mrs. Jackson. Grew up with a number of her family members, and yeah, it was good to see. But 100 years old, that's a remarkable achievement as far as I'm concerned. And also on Sunday afternoon, my wife Debbie and I enjoyed homemade pie in Arabella's Tea Room. It was the 40th annual Pie Social, one of the most popular events of the season. The volunteers of the Ladies Auxiliary were run off their feet. We had to wait in line, as many did, between noon and 4, but it was well worth the wait. That's the only time you can get pie at Arabella's. Instead of pie, guests will enjoy fresh baked tea biscuits served with homemade jams and jellies starting on June 1st for the rest of the Arabella's season, and fresh brewed tea, of course. At the same time as the Pie Social, the staff and volunteers of what we all consider the best museum in Niagara were busy in all the buildings, inside and out, on the grounds of the Port Colborne Historical Marine Museum with the History Fair. We say well done to all of you, and we thank you. One thing, they couldn't raise their price on this. It was pretty cheap, believe me. So who's on the museum board? Put the price up. It was too cheap. And most of the people in line made that comment, that they would give more money. So just a reminder, the two major museum features are made in POCO. I'll bet you didn't know that so many things were actually made in Port Colborne. And a step in time, all about Humberston Shoe Factory's 90 years in business. It's remarkable how many local families have history with the shoe factory at Main and Elm, now one of the nicest apartment buildings in the city. Correct, Councillor Bruno? Correct. Speaking of history in our city, the Port Colborne Garden Club, formerly known as the Port Colborne Horticultural Society, celebrates its 95th anniversary next week on June the 5th. On Sunday, June 2nd, the St. John Bosco Catholic Women's League celebrates their 75 years of service to our community. It's a testament to the passion and commitment of members that these volunteer organizations have endured through so many challenging decades, doing so many good works for our city. We salute them and thank them. Pack up your lawn chair and find a good spot on the beautiful grounds of Roselawn to enjoy the first of 4 concerts on the lawn. Sunday afternoon, June 2nd, starting at noon until 2, organized by members of the Museum Board, sponsored by the Friends of Roselawn. The first band of the season is Back in the Days. A week later on June 8th, the city's community concert series kicks off with ABBA Revisited on stage in the band shell at HH Knoll Lakeview Park. The community concert series is sponsored by Sai Kasei, the Japanese firm which 2 weeks ago announced a $1.6 billion investment in a new EV battery components factory right here in Port Colborne. Already, AK is showing it intends to be involved in our community. These concerts are all free. We ask for your support by bringing a non-perishable item to keep the shelves full at the Port Cares Reach Out Center. And we're all aware of mental health challenges faced by so many in our community, as faced by so many across our country. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee has stepped up to help young people cope with the stress and anxiety of school. Young people who learn to manage their mental health grow into adults with good, positive mental health habits. MIAC members have partnered with Bridges Community Health Center and Port Colborne Public Library to present a self-care for students wellness fair. The event is tomorrow evening, May 29th, from 4 to 5:30, and as our council rep, will be there attending that. There will be 6 stations set up in the library and the archives next door. Students of all ages travel between each of the stations. They'll learn, for example, study tips, how to handle the transition from elementary to high school, the benefits of healthy snacks, and how to cope with stress in different ways. Each station is led by one of their peers, someone their own age, someone young people can relate to. And I'm proud of all our MIAC members for their initiative in coordinating the wellness fair and for reaching out to Bridges for advice and leadership. And speaking of advice and leadership, one of our longtime family physicians, Dr. John West, retired recently. He took care of hundreds of Port Colborne patients, sometimes 3 generations of families for more than 40 years. In addition to his own demanding practice, Dr. West served on the wards in the hospital, did shifts in the emergency department, he assisted surgeons in the operating room, he did Wednesday night walk-in clinics, he also did house calls. All that while taking care of his own family. His patients are really going to miss him. On behalf of council and staff, thank you, Dr. West, for almost half a century of caring for the citizens of Port Colborne. But Dr. West didn't leave his patients without a replacement. So let us all welcome Dr. Sam Adiga, who is here this evening, who is taking over Dr. West's patients. She and her husband, Roshan, who is a pharmacist. Now there's a team, Dr. Pharmacist, we like that. They also have a 7-month-old son, and it sounds like you have your hands full already. So if we want to, I'm just going to go up to the podium here, council. So if I could have Dr. Adiga come on forward, please, and her husband, and her young guy, who's probably asleep by now. Welcome. So we've put together a basket of goodies for you and your family, Dr. Adiga, to welcome you to our great city of Port Colborne. We included some baby things, including a baby quilt made by former councillor and regional councillor Barb Butters. Thank you, Barb. There are some other handmade baby things of some of the talented members of the Niagara Crafters on King Street. And because we are a fair trade town celebrating 15 years this month, we've included fair trade coffee. That's to help keep you awake. Not from work, though, from this little guy. And some fair trade toys for you and your baby from Villages on Clarence Street. And of course, you'll find some fun Port Colborne branded items we hope you'll be proud to wear. We welcome you and your family. We look forward to you enjoying many years of life in Port Colborne. And anything you need, please call us at any time. Round of applause, council.
Thank you so much.
You want to
So
see him?
kind. Thank you guys so much. That's extremely kind. I wasn't expecting this warm of a welcome. I just came from a shift, so I'm in my scrubs, and then this guy just threw up all over me. So, thank you guys. I look forward to serving this community.
Good. Let's go up front and grab a snapshot. That's okay. Certainly one of the best things about this job is welcoming new doctors to our community, so phenomenal. I know what that's like with a new 8-week-old that my son and his better half has, so I know what it's all about. Okay, item 8 is our approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting of council, May 14th, 2024. And 8.2, meeting to consider, May 21st, 2024. If I could have councillors Elliott and Danch move those. Are there any questions with regards to those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. The following items are pulled for separate discussion: 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, 9.6, 9.7, and 9.8. If I could have councillors Hoyle and Bodner move the remaining items. All those in favor? That's carried. At this time, under item 11, presentations, we have the YMCA Port Colborne Branch Annual Update from Christian Wolf, Chief Executive Officer, and Ben McDermott, the General Manager.
Good evening. I am clearly neither Christian nor Ben. I'm Amanda Bell,
Yes.
and I stand before you not only as a proud resident of Port Colborne and family physician here for over 24 years, but also as an engaged member of the YMCA of Niagara Board of Directors. I want to thank the Mayor and Council for allowing our YMCA team a moment to connect you to our mission and articulate the impact that the YMCA is delivering for all residents of Port Colborne. The YMCA of Niagara the YMCA is a charity that has been serving communities for over 150 years, and the municipality of Port Colborne is a stronger community because of the services and opportunities provided by the YMCA at the Valley Health and Wellness Centre. The Valley Health and Wellness Centre is a community hub where residents are welcomed in a safe environment to learn new skills, connect with friends, and reach their full potential. Ensuring that no person is turned away due to inability to pay, the YMCA advances health equity by offering programs for all demographics, races, beliefs, socioeconomic statuses, backgrounds, and abilities. The impact you'll see in the following presentation is a testament to our strong partnership with the Council and City staff. Our YMCA is dedicated to continually exploring innovative ways to meet the evolving needs of our community, ensuring that we provide new and exciting opportunities for all residents of Port Colborne. And with that, I'll turn it over to Christian and Ben.
Thanks, Dr. Bell. Appreciate you coming this evening.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, and obviously city staff. I am Christian Wolf, the CEO of YMCA of Niagara. I wish I didn't have to follow Amanda's speech because that was pretty slick. Again, I want to thank you guys for allowing Ben and I to be here and present back on the impact that our YMCA is having in Port Colborne. I think you'll see through the presentation just the success that we've had through the last fiscal year. And we're going to show a few slides around the impact, but also the sustainability and all the work that we're doing in the future years. Oh.
I didn't grab the clicker.
Oh, sorry. We knew we missed one step. As you'll see through the presentation today, we've tried to really align our work, our impact through the facility to align with obviously the strategic plan of Port Colborne. And so you'll see our impact, which is aligned with empowering community health and connection, financial update, all about driving economic prosperity, and then our capital investment, which is about our commitment to superior asset stewardship. And then we're going to talk around just how we're going to keep enhancing the partnership. Before I jump off, I just want to say congratulations. Obviously, huge news over the last couple of weeks, and we can't wait to keep partnering and supporting, obviously, with the growth in the community.
Perfect. Thank you, Christian. The next set of slides illustrate the impact our YMCA has had over the last year in empowering community health and connection in the city of Port Colborne. So we are pleased to report that over the course of the last fiscal year, we experienced growth in all of our critical impact metrics. Our average number of members on roll grew by 55% and led to a substantial increase in the number of member visits to the center. In the pool, we served close to 1,000 children in our Learn to Swim programs, had over 13,000 visits to our open and family swims, and certified 35 new lifeguards through our Jump In With Us scholarship program. We expanded the number of programs offered, and we continued to deliver on our mission to ensure that no one is turned away by providing financial assistance to individuals and families in need. And overall, we estimate that over 13,000 unique individuals came through our doors over the course of the year and were positively impacted by the holistic health and wellness services offered at our YMCA. The next slide outlines our current impact metrics, which demonstrates our YMCA's continued upward trajectory in membership growth and community participation. In April of 2024, we crossed the 1,500 member mark for the first time since reopening after the worst of the pandemic, fueled by a significant increase in older adult participation. We also have 350 children in swim lessons for our spring session and continue to see growth in residents accessing our YMCA through our day pass and open swim options. And as part of our ongoing effort to ensure that our operating model is relevant and meets the needs of our community, we have made several innovations to how we deliver our services. This includes the introduction of a 4-tiered membership pricing model and adding additional ways that residents can access YMCA programs and services. We collaborated with our partners at YMCA Canada to develop creative marketing strategies and have also launched an intentional effort to collaborate with other not-for-profit organizations to help reduce barriers to accessing health and wellness activities. And these innovations were instrumental to the success that we've been able to achieve over the course of the last year. We did want to share some additional information with you about our updated membership options. Prior to reopening in 2021, the YMCA did complete market research and received member feedback, which pointed to the need for our organization to update our membership model and allow individuals and families to purchase products based on their specific needs and interest. This led to the introduction of the 4 options that you see on the slide, all with pricing geared towards the services the member chooses to utilize. And we launched this new model in September of 2021 and are pleased to say that it's been well received by those who access the center. And I'm going to turn the floor back over to Christian.
Awesome. As Ben has just alluded to, the impact within Port Colborne is continuously growing. I just want to share a little bit right now just on basically the financial status of the facility itself. As you can see, significant increases year over year in regards to all of the categories, revenue, subsidy, program day, fees, and then facility rentals. Interesting side note that we see like consumerism has changed somewhat over the pandemic around whether it's membership purchase as opposed to drop-in purchase. And so we're seeing a huge spike in our day passes and a little bit less in a reduction in our membership numbers. And that's across the board, not only here in Niagara, but also across the Federation, across Canada. And so we're really keeping an eye on that, trying to build value in order for people to maintain and connect people to the facility for years to come. Based on these results, based on these numbers, and with obviously the subsidy through the City of Port Colborne, we managed to fulfill a balanced budget, and we're still seeing growth, and we're still going from strength to strength. In regards to capital investments, over that time, significant investment to maintain that the facility is still going to be state of the art. You know, new equipment, new floors through a Trillium grant. There was basically new carpet office area, and then there was a piece around just basically accessible doors as well getting placed in the facility. So all of this to help inclusion and increase accessibility for people with any kind of special needs. The future, and I think this line may change slightly over the next 10 years, let's be honest, but huge opportunities in this facility and also obviously in Port Colborne in regards to the growth we're going to see. And so there will be a lot of conversations around what does this facility need to look like for now, in 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And so the investments that we're looking at from our standpoint, still trying to maintain the facility at a level that befits obviously the facility and the community that we are serving, but with some plans to continue to move the dial on how do we create this facility as a destination for not only Port Colborne residents, but people from outside Port Colborne to come and visit this facility. Ben.
Thank you. So the final section of our presentation will highlight the YMCA's efforts to collaborate with other organizations to support our common goal of enhancing livability in the community. And we are very grateful for the opportunity to have collaborated with the City of Port Colborne over the last 11 years. The work that we have done together has made the Valley Health and Wellness Center a premier recreation center here in the Niagara region. And over the last year, we've continued to find new and innovative ways to expand our partnership and in turn better serve our community. And this includes expanded support of all the key events that happen in the city, including Canal Days, Sports Fest, and the New Year's Eve family event. We extended our weekend hours during the winter to create more opportunities for residents to access the center. We developed an employee wellness program for team members at the City of Port Colborne, and we continue to work together to enhance the service experience of residents who utilize the center, most recently by moving public skating and pay-as-you-play hockey registration and information to the main service desk. And I would be remiss if I didn't say a big thank you to Brian, to Greg, to Tim, to Brent, to Leanne, to Luke, to Blair, and all of the team members at the City of Port Colborne for their continued support of the work that the YMCA does in this community. We sincerely look forward to what the future holds for our continued partnership. This slide provides a list of some of the key partnerships that were developed over the course of the year. They include a new membership initiative that we developed with CAA Niagara, which increased our market penetration to 1 out of every 2 Niagara households. We also relaunched our Swim to Survive program with the District School Board of Niagara, which ensures that grade 3 students can learn the fundamental skills to survive a fall into open water. And we're also pleased to announce that in collaboration with Alzheimer's Society of Niagara, we are launching a new program in June at the center called Minds in Motion. This will allow individuals who are dealing with early to mid-stage dementia the opportunity to participate in social and physical activities. The final slide we have outlines the ways our YMCA is committed to serving those who are most vulnerable in our community. And this includes through our Stronger Together assistance program, which removed financial barriers to participation for 12% of the total members and program participants served this year. We partnered with Canadian Tire Jumpstart to offer a free after-school youth program for students at DeWitt Carter School. And we continue to work with other community and social service agencies to reduce financial barriers and promote program participation in YMCA programs and services. And that concludes our presentation. We thank members of council tonight for welcoming us, and more importantly, for the trust that you've placed in us as a valued partner. We hope that we have illustrated the profound impact that your investment in our YMCA has had on the Port Colborne community. And with that, we're happy to take any questions that you may have for us this evening.
Great. Before I go to council, so for Christian and Ben and Amanda, thank you for coming out this evening. One thing I do have to pass along from, because as you know, a couple weeks ago we hosted the Canadian Para Hockey Championships. So 7 teams from across Canada, obviously our own Ontario team, but the overwhelming positive experience that those players and visitors that came to our center, and one thing they did say was how welcoming and how great it was to work with you guys and what you did for that organization. For it, they just couldn't believe that a place like Port Colborne, you know, with our size of about 21,000 people, has such a gorgeous facility, especially with the para sledge hockey changeover that we did with the big rink a few years back, and then obviously our smaller rink, what we call the smaller rink, even though the ice is the same size. It was built for sledge hockey originally, but being, especially on the afternoons, I'm sure you guys might have been there when, I think it was Friday afternoon, I think there was like 1,000 kids in the place. It was as loud as it could be. Those players were just ecstatic at what happened. But the organizer, Mr. Dool, did call me, and aside from our staff, but thank for our staff what they did, but especially you guys too, because they were really happy with everything and how it came together, so we really appreciate that. Councillors' questions. Councillor Bruno?
Thank you. I just have to pile on to what Mayor Steele has said. I'm not a member of the Y, but I am by far your biggest fan as to what you've done for Port Colborne. I can remember when we opened Vail and we established a relationship with the Y, to then what we called, you would run the warm side of the building. And there were a lot of people in the community who were first skeptical about Vail being built, and there were a lot more people skeptical that this could work. Because I can tell you, people were saying, quote unquote, Port Colborne doesn't have the kind of population demographic that can afford a Y membership. And I remember, I think it was Terry Cease, who came here, and the actual number at the time, 2 or 3 years in, for the size of the city of Port Colborne versus the uptake, and granted we'd have Waynfleet and Dane City and Ridgeway and that, was a better average per citizen take-up than Niagara Falls or St. Catharines. You guys have performed, like when I look at what your, the employment that you provide is phenomenal. The cleanliness of that building is beyond none compared to anything. I think it's the greatest partnership we've ever formed. I can't imagine that building without you in it. And if we as the city had to operate it, fill it, program it, maintain it, entertain new partnerships. So can't thank you enough. Love to see if you get into the daycare business and anything else you want to get into. Full support. Thank you for everything you've done.
I want to say thank you firstly, and I'm going to get that recording and play it back to my board of directors. I can say we are very heavily involved in the childcare industry. We are one of the largest childcare providers across Niagara. Again, you know, with the growth that you guys are going to go through, the conversation is open for us to look at how we start to meet community need. We know that childcare is a community economic driver, and without childcare, people can't go to work. And so with the growth over the next 10 years, we'll just keep the conversation going as to what this partnership looks like and how we deepen the relationship.
Great, thank you. Further questions? Seeing none. Fantastic, keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We have two delegations this evening, Council. Under item 12.1, we have a request for exemption from vacant building registry and waiver of water fee for 281 Chippewa Road from Bruno Carrera, 1000239-784 Ontario Inc. He's a virtual delegation.
He's got a property address.
All set?
Yep, it's Sam is the delegate.
Oh, that's, okay. On behalf of Bruno? Or is that Bruno?
He also goes by Sam.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have Mr. Carrera here this evening. If you want to unmute Mr. Carrera, and you can go ahead and present to council. Can you hear us? There he goes.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sounds like a commercial, cell phone commercial. Anyway, good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of council. My name is actually Bruno Carrera, but I go by Sam. That's my middle name. And I'm speaking on behalf of the owner, 1000239-784 Ontario Inc. for 281 Chippewa Road. I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We are requesting that council consider waiving the annual vacant building fee and monthly water fee for the following conditions. I have 4 conditions here that I'd like to read off. One is hydro, gas, and water have been permanently disconnected back in November of 2021 as the residence was vacated due to eviction of the tenant for unpaid 6 months of rent, utility bills, and damage to the building. The building is now uninhabitable for occupancy since of November 2021. We currently have been paying monthly water bills for disconnected water service since that time of November 2021. Number 2, we have recently received an order to comply from bylaw department to board up windows and entry doors that are easily accessible in order to prevent vagrants entering. This order has been complied to and completed by us. Number 3, we currently have a zoning bylaw amendment application submitted, which council reviewed back in April of 2023. Studies are currently near completion in order for final submission for a zoning bylaw, amendment approval of a plan of condominium proposal for a mix of 169 residential units. Number 4, the building will inevitably be demolished after approval for the proposed plan of condominium. Therefore, there is no possibility that this building can accommodate occupancy under present conditions. We understand that the vacant building bylaw was created due to the shortage of housing and to encourage homeowners to rent out vacant buildings in order to help with the housing shortage. This is not feasible in our case, as clearly indicated by the conditions noted above. We ask that Council give this matter your full consideration as moving forward with our project as a much needed and beneficial asset to our city of Port Colborne. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm open for any question.
Thank you, Mr. Carrera. Councilors, Councilor Beauregard?
Yeah, through your worship to the delegate. So what? Clearly, you don't have an intent to have the building be habitable or have anyone live in it. I'm just wondering what's preventing you from demolishing it at this time or sometime soon.
Well,
why does it have to be at the draft once draft plan's approved?
Yes, we're hoping to get the zoning bylaw amendment approval, and as we go forward with that, we're going to be demolishing the building because obviously the where the building is located right now is has planned. There's a couple of units that are going to be going in there with the remainder of the 169. So it has to come down in order for us to complete the plan of condominium that's proposed.
Councilor?
Yeah, through your worship, I guess it kind of doesn't necessarily answer my question because you could still demolish it before the zoning bylaw amendment's approved. I'm just wondering why you're waiting until then. Well,
we're waiting because it's a substantial substantial amount of money to demolish. It's not only the house, but there's the barn that's existing there as well. So it would take some amount of money to do that, and we're just waiting for the approvals before we go ahead.
Councilor?
I guess through your worship, my understanding, demolishing of a house is around approximately 10 grand in my experience. The studies that you're probably completing for your development are significantly more, I would anticipate. I still don't understand why it can't be demolished.
Because, well, the estimates that we've been getting is nearing $40,000. I'm not sure where you're getting that estimation from, but if you can give me a contact name, I would surely approach that person, that providing that they're qualified and insured to do the demolition. I'd be glad to get a name for a reference.
Councilor?
Through worship, that 40,000 seems like quite a bit in my opinion, but I suppose in the future maybe I can provide contacts, or maybe someone from staff can provide contacts of local companies that would be involved in demolition.
Yeah, absolutely. Our estimates have come in from people throughout the Niagara region. We're keeping the business within our community.
Okay, further Councilor Bruno?
Thank you, Worship. I may have to ask this question of Mr. Bowles first. The presenter mentioned that he is looking for an exemption on water. It's my understanding that whether it's vacant land with a water line running in front of it, whether there's a building on it or not, we charge a water fee. So through you to Mr. Bowles, is that correct, or is there a different type of exemption that developer is asking for relief on? Because it's my understanding that there is a flat fee for a water line running in front of even a vacant property.
Mr. Bowles?
Through the mayor to the councillor and council, we don't have an exemption in this case. Whether you have a building on the property or not, the fixed fee is charged.
Councillor?
Through you to the presenter, my colleague, Councillor Beauregard, mentioned something that for me, even at $40,000 a tear down, is a small percentage of all the investment you are making and currently making into fees. So I'm just going to ask you outright, is the reason you're waiting for the approval because it helps finance the whole project? Is it a cash flow issue? You're seeking relief. I'd like a little more meat on why 40,000 is excessive now to tear down a building that you're going to tear down anyways.
Mr. Carrera?
Well, we're looking at getting financing for millions of dollars, and this is something that we're working on with the banks, and it's going through the process right now. So the money that we've spent so far on studies and all other related costs has mounted up to a substantial amount. So, once we have monies in our hands from lending institutions, whoever it may be, then, we'll have some capital that we can work with. And for sure, that would be something that we would seriously look at in demolishing, because, as we've discussed, sooner or later, that existing building has to come down. Whether if we're going ahead with this project, it has to come down. We have no other choice. It has to come down.
Councillor Bruno?
I agree. It probably has to come down if it's condemned. I think you mentioned that you have complied with the order. I guess what I want to say to you is that a lot of other people have complied without there being an order. And in this case, it's great that you did comply. I think we all hope that there wouldn't be a need to have an order to comply. So I do commend you for that, but I won't be supporting the relief. We've done a lot of hard work, and fire department has to keep an eye on all these buildings. And I think this is the thin edge of the wedge if the first applicants out of the chute are not able to comply. So I'm going to support the bylaw as is. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hoyle?
Through the mayor to Director Bowles, one question: whether there's something on the property or not, it goes by the property, right? So if they tear down the house, nothing changes.
Through the mayor to the councillor, that's correct. So a residentially zoned will be charged the residential one inch or 3/4. If it's industrial, it'll be charged the average industrial fixed charge for a pipe. So it doesn't matter if there's a building on it or not.
Councillor Hoyle?
Future? No. Through the mayor to the presenter, do you have a timeline when your permits and paperwork and all your stuff is in that you'll proceed with this project?
Really, we don't have a timeline. It's all dependent on the studies coming in and going through the process of being distributed through the departments. The region has to look at some of the studies, review it with their consultant. Apparently, there's some consultants or staff that's not qualified for some of the studies that they have to basically sub it out to whatever consultants that the region uses, and it has to go through the process in the department, the planning department as well. So a back and forth procedure is really unpredictable. It depends on how busy the consultants are with other projects that they've taken on. But we're trying to move as quickly as possible. So we've put in our best efforts, and I'm sure that the planning department and the region has also done the same. I'm in contact with both the planning staff members at the city and also at the region. Pretty much on a weekly basis, we talk back and forth, whether it be by phone or by email. So we're to answer your question, we're moving as fast as we possibly can.
Councillor Hoyle?
No further questions. I will be supporting the bylaw.
Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, just for quick clarification, is there a directive to tear the house down, or is there just an order to secure the home? And I'll ask.
The order was just to board up the windows and doors in order to prevent vagrants from entering into the house. That's really the only order we have there, and that's been complied to. That was complied probably about 3-4 weeks ago. We weren't aware of any problems, but we got a letter from the bylaw department from City of Port Colborne stating that we had to board up the windows and the doors to prevent vagrancy. So that's what we did.
Great, thanks, Mr. Kerr. We also have our bylaws here, so Ms. Hanson, if you want to answer the question for Mr. Elliott, or Councillor Elliott.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Elliott, presently there are no other orders on the property, just boarding up the building. There are no demolition orders on the property at this time.
Councillor Elliott?
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So the discussion around demolishing the house really doesn't have any weight. Like, it doesn't matter. You can demolish it now, you can demolish it later, as long as you keep it boarded up so that nobody has access to it. You can do what you want with the house.
Yes.
Fire department's
Yes.
probably always looking for a controlled burn situation that they can go and put out fires in. So, I mean, if you want to take it down like that. But I think with our director of corporate services and stating that you have to pay whether or not you have an habitable house on the property, you can't get away from that, because we've also had people come here that have a vacant property that are charged the same amount. So to be consistent with everybody, you're going to have to continue to pay that, and just make sure that the house is boarded up so nobody has access to it.
Okay, I appreciate that. I can understand from this discussion that the flat rate fee for the water connection, I understand that we can't waive that, but can we consider waiving the vacant building fee? Because there's no possibility we're going to ever rent that out because of what I explained earlier. And the other thing is that you've brought up a good point, which caught my interest. If fire department would like to use that as a training facility, I would talk to my my partners, but I think that would be a great idea. I would go along with that idea very well.
So we'll pass your contact information on to our chief with regards to that. Mr. Carrera, we have no issues with that. Are there any further questions to the delegate? Oh, sorry, Councillor Danch.
Just a comment to the delegate through you, Mr. Mayor. I own an empty lot on Main Street. It's been empty for 7 to 10 years. I've been paying a water bill on it every year. I tried the same thing as you. It doesn't work. Unfortunately, that is the bylaw. I know of another place that's vacant and it was the same problem. So best of luck, and I'll be supporting the bylaw as well.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay. Any further questions to the delegate? Okay. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Ms. Hanson.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
your
Carr.
time. Thank you for your time.
Anything further on this one? Nothing further? Okay. Our second delegation this evening is item 12.2, request for exemption from vacant building registry for 174 Mitchell Street from A.J. Callan, 2866403 Ontario Inc. Is this virtual too?
Yep, also virtual.
Okay.
Yes, hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Mr. Callan, go ahead. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I just got connected now. Sorry about that. Yes, thank you for having me. I'm asking the council to exempt the property at 174 Mitchell from the vacant building registry, and I have the following reasons to ask for this exemption. We're in the process to apply for a building permit, which is one of the exemptions criteria in the vacant building registry bylaw. But to get to the building permit stage, we had to go through the zoning bylaw application and the official plan amendment, which was approved by the council earlier this year. We have now submitted the application for the site plan earlier in April, just last month, and also paid the fees for that. The building at 174 Mitchell was empty when we purchased the building in December of 2021. The main floor was always commercial and vacant when we purchased it, and the second floor was not just vacant but also uninhabitable when we purchased it. And going through the process of getting a building permit, we also had to do the environmentals, which required us to basically turn the second floor remove everything and turn it into studs, to also complete the designated substance survey. So I'm asking council to exempt us from the vacant building registry. In a project like this, every dollar counts, and this amount is significant. And that's the end of my presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Callan. Questions to the presenter? Councillor Hoyle?
Through the mayor to the presenter, so you're currently right now working or in the, I don't know, say the next few weeks working in that, on that property, or as soon as the permit, do you have an idea of when the permit will come in? I know lots of question there.
Mr. Callan?
Yeah, so to answer the question, we submitted the site, so to apply for a building permit, we had to go through the next step, which is a site plan application. So we have paid the fees and submitted through our planners. I think the date was April 30th of 2024. So we're waiting for the city to respond to that application and then go through the motions.
Councillor Hoyle?
Is there any staff can answer that possible progress?
Mr. Cotton?
Through you, Mayor, to Council, I did speak with the planning department, and they expect that Mr. Cajon will be able to pull his building permits by September. So going through their process, and then they expect that he should be able to apply for his permits by September.
Councillor Hoyle?
I have no further questions right now.
Okay. Councillor Bruno?
Councillor Hoyle asked half of my question. Given it's September, Mr. Cowan, when do you anticipate starting construction?
Our intention is to start the construction as soon as we get approval for the building permit. The idea of this project has always been to turn it into a residential apartment building, and our aim is to do a conversion into 12-unit apartments.
Councillor Bruno?
Thank you.
Councillor Beauregard?
Yeah, through your worship. Through you to the delegate. I thought I heard something about. I thought I heard you mention an OPAZ, official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment. Did that happen, or are you going through that process? Is it just site plan that you're going through? I'm just kind of confused as to what applications are in the queue right now.
Mr. Cowell?
Yeah, so in the queue right now would be the site plan application, but the zoning bylaw application and the official plan amendment is completed. We had submitted that last year and it was approved by council. I believe it was February this year.
Okay, just a sec, Councillor. Mr. Schultz, you have some comments to add?
I was going to say about the same thing, Mr. Mayor, through council. I believe the OPA ZBA was approved earlier this year. It wasn't my file, but I know my colleague worked on that one. And Mr. Calhoun is correct. The site plan application was received and it is going through the review process currently. So we hope to get our first round of comments back on that shortly.
Councillor?
Yeah, through your worship, given the status to date on this project and how far along they are and their intent to proceed with building permit immediately upon approvals, site plan approvals, I'm supportive of this request, and yeah, that's my stance.
Just to give you some information, Councillor, you can have the proponent go through the application process for vacant dwellings, like go through that. You can actually not technically waive the whole fee, but you can hold off on that by giving the proponent a date, so that if he doesn't fulfill by that date, so let's say he's saying September, you could take September 30th, just in case something happens. If he's fulfilled all those obligations that he's talked about this evening and that Mr. Schultz has talked about, then the fee would be waived. But he would still be on the registry because it is vacant, but you could waive that fee. And then, so if for some reason they did something that they're not going to proceed, and on September 30th, it's just a date I threw out, you can pick any date you want, then the fee would have to be payable. So it does put some onus on the proponent to get moving on this, based on everything he's told us tonight. So, I mean, they have come through, they've been here, they've done the public meetings and everything else. So, you know, they have started this process, and staff have been working through it. So that can be done. That came through from my meeting with the head planner last Friday.
Okay.
So, because we talked about this one.
So through you, I would have no problem with that. I guess the only issue or my concern would be there's that date that was thrown out. It should be by September, but I just know from my personal experience with the site plan process, there's a lot of moving parts and the dates can move. So I would not necessarily want to put a specific date, just once up to site plan approval, I guess. So once that, whenever site plan approval is given, that be the date. So.
Okay. Councillor Bruno?
I'm not sure if this is for Ms. Hansen's manager of bylaw services, so I'll just throw it out there in case it is. So I'm supportive of Councillor Beauregard's motion. Through you to Ms. Hansen. So in the interim till September, is this building then would be monitored for if plywood was taken off, it falls into disrepair, there are weeds, so it's not maintained. I guess what I'm trying to do is ensure that that can happen, but in the meantime, there's maintenance or not aggravation or breaking of property standards bylaws, so that we're having maintenance as well as, it's not a stick and carrot, but maintenance as well as the deadline is a jump-off point, but non-compliance could be a jump-off point. Can you speak to that? Do you monitor this regularly, or now more so that it's in this ninth inning?
Ms. Hansen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruno, having the presenter register the building would then require the person to do bi-weekly inspections to ensure that their building is secure and maintain their property. Failing to do so would allow bylaw enforcement to still issue fines because they're registered. If council chooses to waive the fee, that is something that they can do and still allow us to move forward and monitor and have the building in a proper state. But they would still be required to register and then follow all the procedures from there.
Councillor Bruno?
Thank you, I'm fine.
Okay. Further questions on that? Mr. Schultz, with regards to site plan approval, your tentative dates, we'll hold you to the exact date, but kind of where do you feel that the proponent will be able to start? Approximate timelines?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to council. It is tough to say because the site plan process does have a lot of moving parts, as Councillor Beauregard indicated. This is only an internal building conversion, so there's not as much with respect to the location of the building or anything like that. So we're mainly looking at like parking areas and any landscaping at that point. So I'm anticipating that it'll be a quicker turnaround for a site plan of this nature rather than like a fulsome brand new apartment building kind of thing.
So with the proponent believing he thinks it could be done by September-ish, that's sitting okay with you? Just so council.
I think from my perspective, I think that's realistic. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, council, just for your information. Before I go back to Councillor Beauregard, any further questions? So Councillor Beauregard, you'll move that we'll have the proponent complete the vacant building process. The fee will be withheld until he starts building at the, what did you call it again? Sorry.
Are you talking about site plan approval?
Site plan approval stage. Councillor Bruno, you can second that?
Yes.
Okay. Questions to the motion? Yep, go ahead.
Through you to Mr. Schultz. Would it be better to have it once site plan is executed or when site plan approval is provided?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Beauregard, I think probably executed would make more sense because that's legally when they can acquire their building permit issued. So I think to be safe, I think executed would probably be the right move there.
I would like to make sure that.
Is that fine, council? Proper term. You got that, Madam Clerk? Okay. Further questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Callan. We appreciate it. So if you just contact Ms. Hanson and she'll lead you through the process. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Now we go on to item 14, staff remarks. Mr. CAO.
Sure, through your worship, just a few items here. This one's for the benefit of council. I'm sure we'll remember anyway, and the public. We are not back for the second Tuesday in June. Our next council meeting, our next public council meeting is Tuesday, June 25th. So that's a little bit of an adjustment in our normal schedule, but I want to make sure that the public is aware. The second one is that also a reminder for the public. I had a chance to go down and see the new condominium building that's almost ready for occupancy on West Street today. In fact, I think there's a person moving in the next day or two, while work will still be taking place. But the road has reopened. I know some councillors and the public were concerned about this, but it has reopened in much the way that it closed, which was one-way traffic from south to north. Please don't drive south on West Street in front of the new condo building, which some people have been doing for the last few days. The last item is very interesting to me. I'm going to turn it over to the fire chief here. Our staff, I've always said, go above and beyond delivering municipal programs and services and try to have good customer service and productivity. However, I was talking to some gentlemen today, firefighters from the city, who told me that one of our staff went even farther above and beyond. And when it's coming from a firefighter who does the tough job in the city every single day of intervening in life-altering situations, it carries a lot of weight. And that person 1 week ago was our Deputy Clerk, Diana Vazu, who intervened in a life-saving way with a person who was in medical distress. And the fire chief wants to present her with something.
Chief.
Yes. The fire service, we carry challenge coins. And in this case, the challenge coin here says proudly protecting people and property. which I believe your actions last Tuesday, the 21st, you certainly did. So I wanted to present you with this and commend you for your actions.
I think he has the update too.
Yep, thank you, Chief and Diana, great job. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
No, over to the chief. He's got some more.
Okay, yep, that's fine. And we'll go to the chief.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I just wanted to provide a quick verbal update on the status of the operations of the fire service. From a public education perspective, staff have been hosting station tours and have also been attending the library for the community helper story time. This is part of the school's year-end class visits. It's great to see all the kids come through the stations. They love seeing the trucks and the firefighters while they're also learning valuable fire and life safety messaging. For those that are that operate businesses through Port Colborne, you may have seen an individual coming through with letterhead representing Community Safety Net. That is a program that the city used to partner with prior to COVID, and this is the first year that it's returned. So it is not a scam. It is, in fact, a partnership with the fire service soliciting funds for public education funding that'll go out to grade 3 students through a book. The first week of May was Emergency Preparedness Week, and Port Colborne partnered with the Niagara West Emergency Management Group, which includes Lincoln, Grimsby, West Lincoln, and Waynfleet. And in doing so, they also partnered with the library, and through the library, there was some public education messaging and some programming that the library delivered on behalf of the fire service and emergency management. So that was great to see that, and I want to thank both Niagara West Emergency Management and the library for participating in that. The joint recruit training program with the Township of Waynfleet is continuing. They have now, the recruits have now completed 2 live fire training weekends. One was at the Niagara Falls Training Tower and the other was at Fort Erie. They are coming along well. Their certification testing is scheduled for the end of June, and upon successful completion of that testing, they will start responding with the remaining, or with the other firefighters, the 1st of July. With that said, as of today, there are 21 active volunteers, excluding the recruits, which I will say is low. To maintain the level of service that we have established in our ENR bylaw, our establishing regulating bylaw, we will be required to conduct another recruitment to get our volunteer numbers back up. With that said, I don't think we have the capacity to run another full recruit training program this year, so I would suggest that we look at running that. We start the recruitment selection process in September with another January 1st start date, and then we can run the program similar to as we've done. Additionally, due to various labor management issues, which I'm sure we're all aware of, what may not be noticed that the career staff did resign from the volunteer ranks. So that is 11 firefighters that are no longer coming back as volunteers. This compounded with the low volunteer numbers that I've talked about has resulted in the department requiring to utilize callback or overtime to ensure that we have sufficient responders when call-outs come. This has resulted in overtime costs rising above the budgeted amount, and it was reported to me as of April 30th, 2024, overtime costs are approximately $36,000 over budget. Both the Firefighters Association and the Fire Management have developed a strategy that aligns with the current collective agreement to reduce overtime costs. However, we are restrained from executing that as we're already short-staffed on one shift, and any opportunity to execute that would result in additional overtime. For those that are interested, this Thursday is our first Shared Services Review Committee meeting. It will be via Zoom, and the links in the agenda will be posted to the City of Port Colborne and the Township of Waynfleet's website. Lastly, there's also 2 provincial grant opportunities that have been announced in the 2024 provincial budget, one of which is a fire protection services grant, which focuses on items such as for cancer prevention, which will be second sets of PPE, decontamination units, station renovations, that kind of thing. And the second is a skills development training fund through the Ministry of Labor Skills Development, and that will go towards training center development. As you may recall, in the 2024 budget, there was capital approval for a training tower here in Port Colborne, and we could apply for funding to see that completed. That's all I have for now. Open to any questions.
Great. Questions? Okay, Mr. Shapowski. Sorry, you got to raise your hand. There you go. Now we can see it, Tim. Councilor Hoyle.
Just to further with that, just confirming with our 21, so then we'll go up to 28. Out of that, how many volunteer officers do we have left?
At present, we have one volunteer officer.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Mr. Shapowski.
Yes, good evening, Council. We wanted to let Council know that the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plan will be coming to Council through a report on June 25th. It will provide ongoing energy monitoring and targeting of utility usage within the city. We've now finalized the plans with alignment with the city's strategic plan, and we'll be proposing some recommendations to achieve those specific goals. Regarding the city's traffic studies on Empire Road, staff will be installing traffic calming measures, including line painting and also installing the word slow within the pavement in multiple locations. And then we'll also be installing speed radar signs for the August long weekend to compare results from previous years. In addition, the Ministry of Transportation has also confirmed that they will be conducting a study in 2024 regarding the Highway 3 and Empire Road intersection, which is something that Council requested previously. As an update to the public in general, we have a number of contractors within the city now that you'll see within the roadways. They're basically conducting infrastructure inspections within the right-of-way and also doing lining of sewer pipes. So this week, we're starting smoke and dye testing within the Clark area sewer shed, and that's part of the city's push to eliminate influent infiltration within the wastewater system. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions? Councillor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director. I've heard from residents, seen comments from residents specifically about Pleasant Beach, Empire, Wildwood. Now that Shirkston is open, the resort is open, there's a higher volume of traffic and speed that is coming with that. I was just wondering if you could touch upon maybe any traffic calming measures or things that may be in the works to prepare for those things.
Yeah, through your worship. So we will be conducting some line painting within the area, more specifically on Empire Road itself. And then we'll also be doing the speed radars, and then we'll start re-engaging and trying to see if there's any other solutions that may be needed. In 2023, during the August long weekend, there was a speed radar set up as well, and it basically stated that the 85th percentile was about 10 kilometers over the speed limit right now. So we're going to see how the new painting on the road reacts to that over time. And then we've also contacted the Niagara Regional Police as well, so they're aware of some of the speeding issues that happen in the area too, so that they can also prioritize and put a focus in that area as well.
So if residents are noticing, what they think are speeding violations on the roads, are they to contact the NRP directly, or do they contact the city to make a report? And what information do they need to have for that report?
I can take that one. I would suggest that they can either call the day number. I mean, it's 24 hours, but it's the not the 911 number, or they can go online and actually do on our website. They can go to the NRP website and put a report in. What I would suggest, and what I've been telling a number of other people, within the urban areas, give us some times of day so that if they're going to do a sting out there, that they can plant the officers when people see the times of speeding. Like I've got one road that it seems to be 4 o'clock every day for about a half an hour is when they feel people are speeding. So if they're going to blitz the area, then it gives them the times, don't go at noon because there's nobody there. So yeah, if they can supply those times. Even if they give it to you, Counselor, you can pass it along to me and I can pass it along to our staff sergeant. But there is a mechanism online, they can go in and report that, and at least it'll come back to the detachment and it'll allow the staff sergeant to act accordingly. Okay.
One last question. In order to have temporary measures, such as like the portable speed bumps that you can install and then take out during the winter months, does the speed signs that you have up, there has to be a report that justifies that need, or are we trying like on Empire Road with the line painting as a first step, and then if that doesn't work, we'll move on to alternative measures?
Mr. Shapowski.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. So what we would be doing and following at this point is the traffic calming mitigation strategies that we've gone through. So as we start moving through the process, we'll investigate, determine if there's any issues, and then follow that process through the decision tree that we've outlined. And then we'll basically come to council if there is a need to push forward with any kind of actions moving forward. At this point, I would say at the August long weekend after that is probably the best time when we can get the results, do some review of what the results are, and then report to council with an update, whether it's positive or negative, and something needs to happen, right?
Great, thanks. Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, Mayor. To council, just one update with the, I guess, change in the council schedule coming up in June. We do have a very lengthy report coming to you. It's called the Asset Management Report. It's about 200 pages that goes over every asset that we have, and it works in detail with respect to the conditions, what condition each asset is and when they'll have to be replaced, and so on. So please, for council to expect a draft report will be emailed to you in about a week and a half, and then it will go public as we finalize it on our normal time frame.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Just a heads up that the Association of Municipalities of Ontario annual conference will be taking place in Ottawa in mid-August. That's known as the AMO conference. The CAO, Councillor Elliott, and myself are confirmed to attend as a delegation from the city. We certainly welcome other councillors at that conference. The ministerial meeting requests are due next Friday, June 7th, so staff will be submitting several delegation requests. We've been very successful at previous provincial conferences. We've been very fortunate to have audiences with provincial ministers as well as parliamentary assistants. So we will be submitting probably 7 or 8 requests by next Friday. Certainly staff have conversations about the issues and the projects that we'd like to highlight in front of ministers and PAs, but if council are thinking of other issues that we may have missed, please let myself or the CAO know, and we'll add that to the backgrounders going into the ministers. And I should also mention that the CAO and I have been approached by a couple other municipalities in Niagara about partnering with Port Colborne as joint delegations, sort of the strength in numbers in front of ministers. So we'll definitely capitalize on that opportunity. Thank you.
Great, Gary. Thank you. Any other staff on up front? Thanks. Ms. Hanson from Bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to inform council that on the Saturday that just passed, we had our Clean Community Day, which was a huge success. We had 90 happy customers. We filled 2 bins, and we got 6.9 metric tons of debris and garbage taken away. And we couldn't have done it at such a cheap cost if we didn't have our huge supporter of Rustic Retreat Glamping Dome that provides us with the bins and takes them away for us, so we just pay for the dumping fees and, of course, staff time. And all the residents that attended were very happy and look forward to it every year and want to know if we were doing it again in the fall. And I haven't made that decision yet, but we used to do 2 a year and we were down to 1. But this year was the biggest one that we had and the most garbage that we collected. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Sorry, question, Ms. Hanson, Councillor Borgard.
Through worship to Ms. Hanson, I took advantage of the opportunity, and I would say it was well run, and it was nice to meet some of our new bylaw officers too, and it was you guys did a great job.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Schultz, anything to add for planning?
Not too much, Mr. Mayor, through council, but we do have a public meeting on June 4th coming up for the Mapleview subdivision application that we received. So we'll be having a public meeting for that, and on the same night we'll be also bringing forward proposed amendments to the city's official plan and zoning bylaw for short-term rental policies. So that'll be the official plan and zoning piece, with the licensing piece to follow at a later date. So that's all for me.
Great, thank you. The regional counselor is not here this evening. If there's any regional questions, I can take those. Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Councillor Natch.
And just because it's a regional road, I've been asked Highway 58 for possibility of a sign giving the speeds and stuff like that. A few of the residents are once again concerned. Maybe you could give that to Fred and see if we can get the cops down there slowing people down a bit.
Whereabouts?
Like Highway 58 between.
That's provincial. So Highway 58 provincial comes into right by McDonald's, if I'm correct, Steve. So yeah, we can reach out to the OPP. I've done that in the past.
That's fine.
So you're talking basically from the rock cut down to McDonald's.
Yes.
In that zone. Okay. Yeah. He's on my speed dial, Frank. I'll send him a note. Okay. Now on to Councillor's remarks. Councillor Bodnar, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If David Schultz or whoever going to be running the meeting for the short-term rentals, can I ask them a few questions?
Yep.
How's it going?
I can hear you if you're ready. Yeah.
Okay. So David, at that public meeting, I've had a number of phone calls on what might be going on there. So can you explain to us, again, I know you mentioned it briefly, but specific to that meeting, and what will be first, Meadow Heights or short-term rentals? Just so people can plan on when they might be there. Thanks.
Mr. Schultz?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not too sure of the timing of the applications because that would be left up to the clerk's department. We could put that one first potentially to if there are more residents coming out for that. I'm not too sure what would be the best approach for that. As for the approach for the actual implementation of these policies, so the public meeting will be to consider official plan and zoning bylaw amendments to essentially enable the city to move forward with the licensing piece, which will come later. So the official plan and zoning piece will be left kind of, I would say, broad in my perspective, to delineating where these short-term rentals may be located. So for example, it'll have a number of residential zones where short-term rentals will be allowed. So that's kind of the enabling policies that are required in order to implement a licensing bylaw. The licensing bylaw will come later after the official plan and zoning piece is approved. And that will actually get into the more detail of like, how many you can have on your property and the time and tenures of them. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to, we haven't done so for the report that's coming, unfortunately, but for future reports, I think we're going to break down exactly what the official plan and zoning pieces can cover, and then also have a chart to show where the licensing bylaw can take over and implement further. So, like I said, I hope that answers your question.
Councillor Bodder?
Sure. So just to be clear, people shouldn't be expecting to come there and talking about the licensing bylaw part yet?
They, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bodner, they certainly can voice their opinions on it and what they would like to see in the licensing bylaw. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll impact. It might impact, but the official plan piece may not be impacted by the comments on the licensing piece, if that makes sense. But we'd certainly welcome any comments on the entire piece, so it'll help us with the formulation of the licensing bylaw.
Okay, that's helpful. And then should people register through the clerk to so that they can speak on it, or will we just be taking people from the floor?
David?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it would be a combination of both. Certainly, we like when people register so we know kind of what to expect and who will be coming. But it's not required for public meetings anymore. So we will have a sign-in sheet on in the back of the room as well, where people can sign in, so they will be notified of future meetings and be able to speak at future meetings as well. That's our typical process.
Okay, I think that's helpful. Is there anything on our website that's saying specifically what that short-term rental will involve? Like you're saying, the official plan and where the short-term rentals can be located. Is that information on the website?
We do have the notice, through you, Mr. Mayor. We do have the notice on the website. I'm not sure if the draft bylaws made it up there as of this point, but we can get those up there. We also, as council is aware, we did have a survey go out previously to gauge some public interest on this. So that has definitely helped in the formulation of the bylaws.
So can I request that the draft bylaw is put on there? Because if in there, if people have a concern and it's already in there, they'll feel better than not knowing whether, what's in there. So the sooner we could get that draft bylaw up there, it might spur some people's interest in, coming forward. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we can work to get that up there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Hoyle?
No report.
Thank you. Councillor Danch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple. On Friday there, we have our local market. I know the fire department was down there, and we had our street sweeper through the works department. Big hit with my grandkids. Just want to thank Chris for the time he took to show them all the little brushes and stuff. It was well done and well received. Sorry about that. Thanking the fire department as well. We've got a couple properties here, maybe a bylaw or maybe the chief there with some long grass. Former Hummerston Builders there, I think it's 700 Elm Street. It's about 2 feet high at present. And then the corner of King and Neff, I don't know, we want to call it the old UAP, Niagara Farms, what do you want to call it, but that's been touched once this year and it's extremely bad shape. If we could maybe shake the bushes there a bit.
Ms. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Danch, we are already actively pursuing both of those issues, and you'll see some changes shortly.
Councillor?
That's all we can ask. Thanks, Sherry.
Great, thank you. Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I wonder if I could just ask David if he's still there. Just a quick question with regards to the public meeting. Hopefully gets back on. I apologize for that.
He can hear you.
David, I was just wondering, how did we provide notice to Portal Village? Did we send out notices to all of the residents, or just, I'll say the bigger, the long-term care home? Were individuals notified, or is it just one mail out to the address itself? I know there's been a lot of interest from that area.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. We mail out, the mail out distance is 120 meters. So anything that falls within that buffer area would receive a notice. For a rental building like that, where the residents may be renting from a property owner or a landlord, we do have a note on our notices that the landlord is to notify the residents. We don't really have a way of making sure that happens, and I to be honest, I'm not too sure if it's a legislated thing that we ensure that that does happen. But it is a note that is made on the notice to ensure that the notice is posted for residents to be able to see.
Okay, thank you. Just because I've had some inquiries from there on when the public meeting was going to be held, so I just want to make sure that there was some type of notification to them. Thank you. And I guess one other question to staff, and I don't even know if there's an answer to it yet, but the old Sunoco station down the street on Clarence Street is now no longer. The tanks are out. They backfilled. Before the rumor mill starts running rampant, has there...
Before? It's already started.
It's already started. Has there been any plans discussed with what's going in, or what the property owner is going to do to tear the whole thing down?
Yeah, through your worship, coincidentally, I did get an update to that from staff. The mayor was in the room when we got the update. We do have very good lines of communication open with Suncor. That is corporate owned. It wasn't a franchise that's privately owned by a smaller business entity or private individual. It is corporately owned. They have been very complicit on cleanliness, weeds, broken windows, anything like that. Very good. But the latest and greatest communication is that they do not know what the future plans of the site are, if they're going to sell it or redevelop it, or what future business will be there. But they do intend to continue to speak with us and take care of the, aesthetics of the property and make sure that it stays clean. But as soon as we know, we'll make sure the council knows.
Councilor?
Okay, yeah, thanks. They did a really good job at taking out the tanks and cleaning it up. I'm surprised it went as quickly as it did. I know it's an arduous task to try to get them out and clean up all the dirt, but they did a really good job. I'm just waiting to see if the building comes down or what plans they have for that. So I know the rumor mill already started, but to try to get out ahead of the rest of it.
It's not a 20-story building with no parking. I've heard that one. So we have no idea what that building's going to be yet.
Okay. Thanks, CAO.
Thank you. Councilor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. It wasn't a question I originally had, but it spurred off of Councilor Bodner's point. I'm just wondering through you to Deputy Clerk, we have those two public meetings, and Councilor Bodner asked which would be first or second, and David didn't know. Can we not just make a call on that tonight so that we can let people know if short-term rentals are going to be first, or sorry, Madam Clerk, I should have asked, or whether Mapleview subdivision will be first?
Through you, Your Worship, I would suggest that if it appears that the Meadowview is going to be fairly short, that we get that one out of the way, because it sounds like the short-term rentals will be much longer, rather than keeping a very small or nil group waiting through a longer meeting, which would be short-term rentals to my estimation. But I can work that out with Mr. Schultz and get a feel for what the evening's going to be like.
I guess only because it'd be nice to tell the residents. I know we had 21 here, and it isn't a public meeting to talk about Mapleview. And so I don't know if you anticipate many or short-term get it subject, but I'd just rather be able to get people. I mean, I'd rather just pick one tonight so people know.
Okay. Well, the agenda, through you, your worship, the agenda will be posted on Thursday, so people will know. So today's Tuesday, so we'll make a decision tomorrow.
All right, if you can, well, that will just go on the website, not to people who can notify today.
It'll just go on the website.
Fine.
Okay.
Yep. Second question, through you to Mr. Shapowski. I had a resident ask me this question. I thought it was a very interesting proposition. We have a community safety zone that is Kalali Street West, and if you miss the sign when you turn off West Side Road, you might not realize you're in it. Their suggestion was, can community safety zones be marked with a colored center line and shoulder marking, same as you would have when there's construction going on and it's orange, so that people would know when they're in it, if they've missed the sign, or when they're approaching it from either end.
Steve?
Yeah, through you, your worship. So when it comes to line painting, there are standards throughout the province that we do follow just for consistency purposes, so everyone understands what the line painting means. So we have our yellow, white, and then, as you mentioned, there's an orange for construction as well. There may be the possibility in the future to have another color to be able to delineate certain areas. Myself and my colleague Joe Polisardo would be able to take that back and maybe mention that and see what the thoughts are with the provincial, with the OTM, and the regional entities as well. So yeah, we'll take that back.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a model for the region or the province.
Yeah.
Second question I have is...
That is a regional road.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second question is with respect to camera community safety zone. Maybe we've had this brought up here, but is there a format to petition for one? So in other words, how are they decided? How do you get in the queue for one?
You're talking about Kalali Street?
Actually, after I heard all the talk about the summer in Shirkston again, Regional Road 98 is Empire Road, notwithstanding it's a seasonal entity, but it's a huge problem for 4 months. Didn't know if that can be a candidate.
Yeah, there is criteria set out, so I'm sure Steve can move through that. It is a pretty narrow. It's mostly school zones, playgrounds, those types of things at this point. So with Vision Zero, those can be. I mean, I think they'll evolve, but normally it's right now. What we've done anywhere on regional roads where cameras have been put is all school zones and playgrounds.
Okay. Good.
So,
yep. Just through you, your worship, I'll just add to that too. You're exactly right. There are specific criteria that are typically followed. Council as a whole could identify a spot to be a community safety zone, whether it's high traffic or any other entities. The process I would suggest is that we end up going to staff to have a report come back to council, because council would have to approve something to that effect, and then we put the stipulations in place, sign it, and then it would actually be able to be fines would be able to be set out in those areas then.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Baggett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, since Ms. Hanson's here, I guess we'll call her up again. I was going to call her tomorrow anyways, because something that came up tonight reminded me of something to ask her. Renkazu apartment building, West Street in the front, there's parking spots facing the east side of the canal. Are there any parking restrictions, time limits on all that parking, or is it you can park day and night?
Ms. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would pass it over to the CAO or to Mr. Shapowski, because presently that portion in front of the new development was leased by the Seaway, and I'm not sure who owns that ownership now, but the street has not been bylawed, and I have no regulations in that area.
Steve?
Yep. Through you, your worship, I hate to ask, but would you be all mind repeating the question?
You're not paying attention, eh? In front of Rankin's apartment building, the parking spots that face the east side of the canal, just like we have the parking in front of where the restaurants are downtown, facing the east side, I'm just wondering, because it's going to be starting to get occupied and restaurants going there of some sort, the parking might be a problem for visitors or whoever. So is there any restrictions on parking in that area?
Yep, through your worship. So those parking spots are actually leased land from the city. So the city doesn't have a lease on those parking spots right now, but I know our economic development officer is currently working with the Seaway to secure them and move forward with that. So right now they are with the Seaway, but the city is in discussions with the future outcome of that.
Mr. Cotton?
I can confirm what the Director of Public Works has said, that those are currently under the authority of the St. Lawrence Seaway, but we are in discussions to have them become under city jurisdictions in sooner rather than later. We've been working on this for about a year with them now.
My understanding, it's close with my contacts at the Seaway. I've been pushing them on this to move it fast. So it should be probably by, I'm hoping, the middle of June that you get your final. So then if that's the case, Councillor, that you can do what you've done down the street where the angled parking is, and I think it's, what, 2 hours down at the 2 hour, thanks, Ms. Hanson. You could put a 2 hour limit on there. Yeah, I mean, you've got the pie guys moving from their current location down to theirs, so, yeah.
I would have bylaw make a recommendation, and I trust bylaw. That's a tough question. I had 3 staff members and the mayor answer that one. So I'm impressed. This is the best question I've ever had, Mr. Mayor.
It's been a long haul with the Seaway on this one.
The last one, Mr. Mayor, it's that time of season that we buy houses, signs show up. There's actually a new sign now that says, "We make signs." And I've taken a few down, but they're starting to appear in, I've seen them at Ward 1, 2, and 3. And maybe we can be, I don't know, with our public works guys take care of our bylaw. I'd rather not have to call bylaw for every corner I see a sign on. But if we have something in the process, I know in the past we've had, but just make our employees aware to see they can stop, take it down, pull it out, and take care of it.
Mr. Shapowski?
And contact bylaw for correspondence to the number on the sign.
Through your worship, so we're well aware of those exact signs. We've taken almost 30 of them so far, and we have contacted them multiple times to let them know that they're not to install those signs in those areas. So that's done through our road supervisor, and we are actively on it, but sometimes they appear quite frequently and quite often. So we will keep up on it as we're driving by, and staff will pull those down.
Thank you very much. I don't want to be as cluttered as well in the Fort Erie, so I do appreciate it. That was a shock, by the way.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Borgard.
Yeah, through your worship, just like to notify council's staff and the public that the Niagara Transit Commission is seeking public input to shape the future of transit in Niagara today. They're looking for feedback on their facilities, strategic asset and service network master plan, as well as they're in the process of rebranding and doing their marketing initiatives. So there are key engagement opportunities, which are public pop-ups. So these are St. Catharines, Welland, Niagara Falls, but you can attend virtually at an open house on June 5th at between 3:30 and 5 p.m., June 6th between 6 and 7:30 p.m., and there's also an online survey that is also available. So I will provide this to staff, and I'm wondering if the clerk's department can put this on our website, and maybe our communications can put it out, because transit's pretty important for this community, and we should have a voice and make sure that we use it. Thanks.
Perfect. CAO, you'll touch base with comms? Perfect. Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, I believe, is for the CAO. It's in regards to the Seniors Advisory Committee that I belong to. Last year, due to various reasons, the month of June is Seniors Month, and we were to be at the market every Friday last year, and things happened that it didn't work out. This year we were planning again to do the month of June, but it appears that Parks and Recreation Month is also in the month of June. And so is there a possibility that both areas can be in the market all 4 Fridays for the month of June, as opposed to splitting the time between the 2 units?
Sure, through your worship to Councillor Aquina. I need to go back and talk to some staff. I'm not going to say yes today, but I'm going to say 99% yes. I'm sure I can make it happen. Let me talk to a few folks, and we'll see about carving you out some space, because I know our comms has a booth here close to the fire truck, but we've been trying to take the summer to sort of share the city story a little more, and you heard about the street sweeper and so on. We had the tree giveaway a few weeks ago. We had the fair trade, I think 2 weeks ago. And so we're trying to do more and more to increase the public awareness of city services. And I think the Seniors Committee is a great example. So I'll make sure tomorrow, and I'll follow up with email to you if that's okay.
All set? Great, thank you. Now on to items requiring separate discussion. 9.3. Is Meadow Heights Subdivision Amending Agreement Phase 3, Stages 1 to 4, 2024-119. This is Mr. Schultz. Okay, I have Councilors Bruno and Bagu. Councilor Bruno, questions? 9.3.
Through to David, my question about the Meadow Heights subdivision amending agreement is really more about the fact that we have not, and I don't know if this is more Mr. Shapowski actually, it's certainly come to my attention that with Meadow Heights expanding the last 2 phases, it's been the first real activity in subdivisions in many a year. And I think it wouldn't be unfair to say that because we haven't been doing subdivisions for a while, there was a lot of learning curves, maybe drop balls, cracks in the agreement because we haven't been sort of up to snuff on them. And so my concern is just the enforcement of issues along the way in the subdivision agreements, particularly with roads. And we talked earlier, I thought I had pulled 9.1 by the way, but I guess I hadn't, about the fouling of roads for trucks exiting each phase of these new subdivisions. Are you comfortable that this subdivision agreement next phase has been reviewed and it's sort of the latest and greatest that are out there today, and that our other departments are in tune with that if there are violations?
Mr. Schultz?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruno, certainly the amending agreements that come forward, they get tuned and tweaked over time, and we're constantly trying to improve them where we do find issues. I know earlier on the agenda, I think it was pulled by staff, but we do have that bylaw that's proposed for the fouling of roads. That will help with enforcement in new subdivisions and existing subdivisions where there's mess created from construction vehicles or what have you with the building process. So that will help. I know that's been a main concern, I think, with this subdivision, is that the roads have been messy and that type of thing. So I think that will give us another tool in our toolkit to enforce.
Thank you. If I could further that, maybe through you to Steve. So you'll know the situations that appeared on Oriole last year. So you have the fouling of the roads in a subdivision that hasn't yet been turned over to the city. And I've called your office a number of times. And then there is the debris that's taken from the subdivision and it fouls the roads leading into the plan of subdivision under construction. One I've called, it seems to me that there's a bit of a disconnect of when you're able to go in there under the subdivision agreement. And so I'm just wondering, like I've called on a Friday, builder A doesn't have a sweeper. Residents are asking for the city to come and sweep it, both in and outside the subdivision. We've had to scramble to do it. I'm trying to figure out what's in that subdivision that gives you the teeth to do it while it's not been turned over to the city. So if somebody could explain that, and I'd like to know that it's covered off there, so when it happens in real life, we have the authority to do it. Maybe Steve on this one.
So maybe I'll talk a little bit about the historical subdivisions first, and David can just confirm that it is in this one. So there is the ability for the city to give 24 hours notice to clean a roadway within an area. We have done that on multiple occasions within those subdivisions. For the most part, we found that building the relationships with some of the builders out there has taken it to the extent that they'll clean it more often. But there have been multiple situations where we've actually gone out there and charged them for doing it ourselves, or had a contractor come out on the city's behalf, and then we've sent the bill to them along with administrative costs as well. So there has been a number of times we've done that, but we always give the developer or the contractor the opportunity to correct the issues ahead of time. So usually at that 24-hour mark, then we are billing them back. But I'll let David just confirm that that is still within the agreement.
Mr. Schultz?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that is correct. That is a clause in the agreement. I remember that 24-hour clause that Steve mentioned.
Counselor?
Thank you. Last question on this. So then there's a definition of clean. So great builder, Meadow Heights, don't know if it's going to be in this next phase. It's going to go pretty fast. One brings in a sweeper. The other idea of sweeping is front blade of a black bucket, clean up as best they can. Still a huge mess, more so that then pours over because of rain. After that, it's Saturday and Sunday. So what is the trigger to ensure that it's clean to a standard?
Yep, through your worship. So I think the best bet in this case is for myself to talk to the development supervisor, and we can start off with a pre-construction meeting that outlines the expectation moving forward throughout the development of the subdivision. That way we're both on the same page, and then we can monitor and react as needed.
Counselor?
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Baggio?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor, thanks.
Any further questions on this one? Counselor Bodnar?
Thank you. Just to that point of talking to the developer, and one's a good one, one's not so good. Can't we do it, or what do we have to do to get it to the first one you get 24 hours, the next one you get, it's something like, Sherry's gone now, but on some of the things, it costs you $500 the first time, it costs you $1,000 the next time, costs you $1,500 the next time. They get religion pretty quick and decide to not let it happen. They just get at it. Can we use that in this situation?
Mr. Szapowski?
It's definitely something, sorry, through you, your worship, it's definitely something we can take back and consider whether we can do. I can speak to our manager of bylaw services just to see if we can do something like that through ramps. But what I'll do is I'll talk to her, and then we can follow back up with council.
Okay, good. Counselor?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, because what was happening was developer A contractor doesn't have a sweeper. So having the city come in and sweep it is actually probably cheaper than floating and renting a sweeper to bring it down for Friday to clean the road and back. So yeah, that can be brought into that. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Further questions on this one? So if I could have Councilors Bruno and Bagu move that the Office of Chief Administrative Officer Department Planning Division Report 2024-119 be received. The council approved the bylaw to authorize entering into the subdivision agreement with 1399908 Ontario Inc. for the Meadow Heights subdivision be approved. That the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the amending agreement and have the agreement registered on the title of the lands. Further questions? And noting Councillor Beauregard's conflict. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. (9.4) is a status update of East Side Employment Lands Design 2024-105. I have Councillor Bruno.
Thank you. Asked earlier today and answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bagu. Any further questions? If I could have Councillors Bruno and Bagu move that the Public Works Department Report 2024-105 be received. That council give the Director of Public Works and Director of Corporate Services delegated authority to release the remaining funds, being $950,000 as required from the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, Southwest Ontario Development Fund for engineering services for East Side Employment Lands. The council give the Director of Public Works and Director of Corporate Services delegated authority to enter into a front-ending agreement with a private developer for engineering services related to the extension of infrastructure to the East Side Employment Lands for the estimated amount of $750,000. That the council give the Director of Public Works and Director of Corporate Services delegated authority to enter into a front-ending agreement with the Niagara region for engineering costs related to portions of the ESEL Tunnel Crossing project for the estimated amount of $500,000. Questions? All in favor? That's carried. (9.5) is Pleasant Beach Road Retaining Wall Update 2024-104. I have Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have a couple comments. One, I'm very pleased to see that the total amount is much below the $1 million threshold, so that's great. But the other question I had, when it's starts being implemented in the fall, do you have an estimated time frame of how long it will take to construct in totality?
Mr. Szpowski?
Yes, so it shouldn't take too long to be able to, sorry, through your worship, it won't take too long to construct. We'll say 2 weeks to 4 weeks at this point, just to play it safe. It gives us a little extra breathing room. The design process will take place throughout the summer, and then right now we are aiming for a September start to it.
Thank you.
Great, Councillor. Any further questions? Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you to you, to Steve, I guess. Steve, it said, I'm happy this is going forward, and the design one chosen is probably more than adequate. It did mention in there that it will take up a little more space than another one. Do we know what a little more space is? Because I didn't see any. Is it of any consideration, or is it just a little bit?
Through you, your worship. So it will take up significantly more of the right-of-way, just because it's not going to be a vertical wall anymore, but it will be on an angle that slopes back. So we don't have exact dimensions as to how far in the right-of-way it'll be right now until the design's completed. But I can tell you that it will take up a more significant portion due to the elevation difference that's currently there.
Councillor?
So you can still get, for people that need to do the retaining walls and everything, you can still get an excavator and a truck through there with stone and everything. It isn't going to be a walkway when you're done.
Through your worship. So I'm making an assumption right now that it's not going to be, and ideally it would be an excavator, full-size excavator that would be able to go back there, gain access to people's waterfronts. But what we can do is we can follow up later just to make sure that that is possible.
Mr. Pilon, do you want to come up and add some context to this, please?
Yeah, through your worship to council. We did receive a preliminary design drawing, and it shows that the revetment will come out into the right-of-way 3 to 4 meters It'll vary depending because the height difference between our portion and the neighboring varies as well. So that'll vary how far it comes out. But we're thinking 3 to 4 meters. So you still have 16 to get equipment through.
All set, Councillor? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff, I guess, because Matt's up there, we'll ask him. The bid that we took was $715. Is that plus contingency?
That is plus contingency. So fingers crossed, we will still be lower than that amount.
Okay. What was the second lowest bid?
Through your worship to the councillor, the second lowest bid was $130,000 above the submission of the lowest.
Okay.
And the third lowest was $150,000 above the lowest.
Okay. Thanks. Just wanted to check.
Sure.
Okay, further questions? Perfect. So if I could have Councillors Acklin and Bod remove the Public Works Department Report 2024-104 be received. Further questions? All in favor? Carried. .6 is Lock 8 Gateway Park Master Plan Concept Design 2024-111. I have Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship, to the project manager on this. My concern, Steve, my concern is that, again, the Seaway lease being a fly in the ointment on this. Are you able to keep going ahead? Is the lease, is your concern the lease is going to dramatically change or the use? I just want to ensure that the project moves forward and that the mayor hasn't got to have to rattle the Seaway's chain again.
Through your worship, so we are currently working through the Seaway leases. I know Director Bowles has taken a significant part in it. There are discussions that are moving back and forth with long-term leases for all Seaway lands between the Seaway and the City of Port Colborne. So we're not anticipating any challenges at this time, but we are waiting to get the final agreements in place to make sure that anything on those lands would be able to move forward just for safety measures.
So discussions surrounding attributes, amenities in the park, washroom, is that being held up as a result of this?
Through your worship, so to a point it is, because we do want to have final plans and we do want to have final Seaway approval for those plans moving forward. Just to step back one step further is that we are looking at the park as a whole, as well also to do kind of a value engineering to figure out where the best value is for the residents. So the designs may change a little bit over time into possibly the fall when we'll report back. We're hoping by the fall we'll have those discussions with the Seaway to be able to report back and have some final conclusions to it.
Good, thank you.
I do have assurances. I met with the Vice President of the Seaway when I was in Montreal a couple weeks ago, and he assured me everything will be fine with this park.
Okay, thank you.
So, no, I know. I'm just going down my list, guys. So I have Councillor Danch next.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I know this pavilion has been going on forever, and it's a shame to see that thing fenced off for the last 2 years with absolutely no usage. The concern was it was going to blow over. Well, it never blew over. And I know one member of the community that helped build that way back. No, he's a little bummed, but I mean, we're moving on with and we're going to get another pavilion in there, and it'll be a rental as well, right, Steve?
Yeah, through your worship. So the intention right away is not to replace it, but in the future, as soon as we finalize those plans within the fall, we'll make a proposal with it. And right now, the conceptual design does show a large pavilion that's actually elevated, overlooking the canal. So that is something that we would look at moving forward with. It just wouldn't be a direct replacement today.
Right. Okay. And we got a cost of $15,000 to tear it down. I just wondered who's doing it. I don't see that in the report anywhere.
Yeah, through your worship, so we'll be doing it internally, so it'll be a lot of sod restoration and removal of materials. So we've already gone forward and we're calling in locates just in case council does make the decision to take it down today, to make sure that we are able to do it within that 2-week timeline.
So our own staff would be taking it down then?
Correct.
And would you try to repurpose the metal roofing and stuff like that, or are we just gonna trash everything?
Through your worship, so the metal roof will be stripped off and it'll go to the scrap yard. The wood timbers, the larger wood timbers, we're going to try to save those ones and then we'll reuse them within the park as different smaller amenities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bagu? Councillor Hoyle?
Through the mayor, both councils already answered my question, so I'm good.
Great, thanks. Councillor Borgard?
Yeah, through the worship to Mr. Shapowski. I believe when this first came to us, there was discussions when we were talking about what's going to happen with the pavilion. Was there not something about heritage aspects with this structure at all? Was there ever anything about that? I thought there was something about the brick or whatnot had, but maybe that's in my head. I don't know. I just want. Can you correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, through your worship. So our staff have looked and it's not on the heritage registry. It is built out of has a fieldstone foundation around the pillars though.
Your worship, is there any way we could repurpose that, or would that be, yeah?
Through your worship, we did discuss that. There's a lot of mortar. There's been a lot of repairs over the years. As much as we want to try to save some of the fieldstone, more than likely it's not going to be worth the time to be able to actually separate all the mortar from the stones and move forward. So I would say more than likely no in that case, unless it comes apart very differently than what we're expecting.
Your worship, I think it's been a shame that it's been fenced off for as long as it has, so I'm happy to see this go down. So I'm in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? Seeing none. If I could have Councillors Danch and Bruno move that the Public Works Department Report 2024-111 be received and the council direct staff to remove the existing pavilion from Lock 8 Gateway Park for the estimated cost of $15,000 to be funded for the Public Works operating budget. Seeing no further questions, all in favor? That's carried. .7 is the declaration of portion of the rail right-of-way north of Clarence Street as surplus and disposition 2024-99. I have Councillor Bruno.
Thank you. Great report. Mr. Cotton's been working on this for a long time, doing a lot of residents along that railroad track at the end of Clarence that are dying to make a bid on their respective mirrored property up against that and extend their backyards. So with declaring it surplus tonight, Mr. Cotton, can you inform them, or can we inform them, when they might hear from you with a letter outlining that it's been surplused and what the next steps are?
Mr. Cotton.
Through you, Mayor, to Council, they should be receiving that letter within the next 2 weeks.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Bram, I do also appreciate this letter here, and I do have a bit of a problem. We've declared land surplus before, and we have used the 250 range, and the majority homeowner says it's too much. They won't pay it. By the time you add survey fees and our city solicitor fees, it's a little out of their price range. So what I'm suggesting, actually I'll ask for your input at this point here, is under financial implications on your report, that you look at the square foot price up to the 250 range instead of in the 250 range. So do we have to use 250 exactly, or is there a little bit of leeway negotiations?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Bagu, there is, certainly we can go up to 250, we can go up to 250, but I do believe it should be the same for each of the property owners. I don't think it should be different for different property owners, I think we do need to maintain consistency. So if the direction of council would be to set a lower rate rather than $2.50, maybe $2, then happy to do that. But I do believe it needs to be consistent for all the owners from a square footage perspective.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. We sold property along the railway bed along Elm Street years ago. I don't know if you researched that out or not, but I don't know what the price was. It consistent? Everybody had the same price? I know most people did buy it. I think there's only one that hasn't bought it because that's only grass that's not cut. But
through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Wagner, I did not know of that property. I can go back and take a look at that if that's desired by council.
I have no problem. I'll vote for this report anyways. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Further questions? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Director of Corporate Services for the first one, because somebody asked me, we buy the land, how much my property tax is going to go up? And I said, probably none, because it really doesn't have value to your property. You're getting a bigger backyard. I'm assuming that would be somewhat right?
Through the mayor to the councilor and council, I think somewhat right is the answer. It wouldn't be a material amount, but it will get identified in the MPAC system, and MPAC will look at the square footage of yards. So I would expect some adjustment, but it wouldn't be material.
Okay. And the second observation, I guess, is these people live right across the street from me that are able to buy the land. And not everybody wants to do it. So I'm thinking you get 4 or 5 houses in a row, and then you get one that doesn't, 2 buy it, and 2 more don't. How are we going to go and maintain the properties that don't get purchased? Because it'll still become, or still is city property. We're going to have to go cut the grass, which makes it more difficult when there's 1 here, 1 there, 2 here. Because I know a couple across the street from me probably aren't interested in it. So how do we go about maintaining those lots that aren't bought up?
Who wants to take that one?
Through you, your worship. I think what we'll do is we'll end up looking at the mapping to see who's going to take over and who's not going to take over. There is the rail property as well, which won't be blocked off, so there's the possibility we could ride along the rail to be able to get to those properties. If there's a will, there's a way, and we'll figure out how to cut it.
Okay.
Somebody was, just with that, either Bram or Brian. So if I'm at 1, 2, 3 Clarence and the guy next door doesn't want it, can I buy his? Is that an option or it can only be the person that abuts directly in front of it?
Through you, to you, Mayor. We've only anticipated people buying the property directly behind them. We have not anticipated people buying property, say, looping behind the next neighbor. I guess we could definitely take that back and look at if that's an option. That was not something we considered, because this is directly related to you buying property directly behind you.
Just saying, if it's available and it's for sale, somebody refuses, we should allow the neighbors, if neighbor on either side want to split it or one guy wants to buy it all, we're here to get rid of the land, so. Mr. Bowles?
Just to the mayor, to council, Councillor Elliott's question, and just to add detail to what the director said, there was a lot of discussion among staff, because I know in the report, I don't really just read the finance section, but I had the same question, and the crew that actually cuts the grass, they actually went out and looked at the space between, as the director said, to be able to bring in the lawnmower that they ride. So it will be able to be done, but working with Bram, we're happy to take direction to look at letting somebody buy a neighbor's backyard if council wants to direct us that way.
Yeah, and just, you don't landlock them, right? So If you don't own the piece behind you, somebody else does, it'd be a weird backyard, but I mean, if it's something people want to do, and the first right of refusal goes with the people directly in line with it, they don't want it, offer it to either side, like you say, split it in half if both want it, so, yeah, okay. Just that came up in the conversation, so. Thanks.
Councillor Bader?
Just because I'm curious, so we're allowing people to put granny suites on a lot, right? Why wouldn't somebody buy that? Buy the neighbors, if there's not enough room, you could put a granny suite back there. So you just, we're encouraging more housing. Just a thought.
Yep. Through you, Mayor. One of the issues that would come up is you cannot put a structure within a certain road allowance away from the tracks. So you can buy the backyard as a backyard, you can put a fence up, but you would not be able to put up housing if you're within a certain distance to the actual track. So that may limit some of the neighbors' ability to, or some of the property owners' ability to add, say, a granny flat or a carriage house, what they used to call a carriage house, to the back. So some of those properties would be limited within that. They'd have to stay without and I don't know if David's still in line, I believe it's 15 meters from the rail track. You cannot have you can have property, but you cannot have a structure, like even a shed. And that's all going to be spelled out with it. I think it says in the report, that'll be all spelled out within the agreement of purchase and sale as well.
However, with that being added, and you've got an existing lot, you could probably have enough room to put it on your existing lot. Some of those houses do have garages in their backyards.
It would be the property.
So you could build on your existing property and still be far enough away, and now you've added to your backyard, so you really haven't really lost much.
Yeah.
Or they could add to the back of their house if they wanted to put an addition on for in-law suite or whatever it may be. So there are options. I mean, there's lots of good options.
No, through you, I 100%, there are some options. I'm just saying directly within that space, it would be quite difficult.
Yep. Councillor?
Yeah, Councillor Elliott's point, I know one of those neighbors there who's already talked to the neighbor who doesn't want his, although he's at the end and his is the smallest wedge, like it's at the point. So he wants to buy his. And I think we had a case at Committee of Adjustment there at around 18 Rosemount, 1 Lakeshore Road, where actually that land on the other side of the road is a L. So the neighbor mirroring the lake bought that, and he bought his next door neighbor's lakefront L. So I think it's very doable and probably not that uncommon.
Yeah, there's a number of those lots when they were sold by Mrs. Daisley, because she owned the whole strip. And when she sold them off, not everybody wanted them, so some of those people don't own the land in front of them across Lakeshore. They're, as you say, their neighbor does, or two neighbors went and bought it. So it's, as you say, it's not uncommon. Further questions? Okay, if I could have councillors Bagu and Elliott move that Chief Administrative Officer Report 2024-99 be received, and that council declare part of the lands legally described as part of the lands Humberston Concession 1 Part Lots 28 to 33 Part Road Allowance Plan 844 Lot 1 Part Block A and B, Plan 845 Lot 2 Part Lot 1 North Sugarloaf Street, Plan 850 Lot 18 South Clarence Part Lots 18 to 21 North Clarence Part Lots 20 to 23 South Park Street, Plan 858 Part Lane, Plan 780 Lots 89, 120, 127, 148, Plan 987 to 989, Park Lots 5 and 6 West Catherine Street, and RP 59 R1 6319 Part 4 as depicted on Appendix 1, attached here to a surplus. That council delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer to dispose of the surplus parcel in a fair and equitable manner to adjoining property owners abutting the city property, that the agreements of purchase and sale and bylaw be brought to council at a future council meeting. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. You want me to do that a little quicker? I can do that. 9798 is the accessibility update of 2024-118. Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first, I just wanted to say I appreciate the report. I understand the time it takes to do that, so I'm very grateful for that. The one question I had, and maybe it's for next year's report, when I'm reading here the 5 key areas, it would, like, I know in the past we've had the templates that have been posted on the website previously. Is it possible to break down the report? Like right now the appendixes are mainly infrastructure bound. If we could break down the report to the 5 key areas, but specific indicators of what the city's specifically doing, or what the city's specifically targeting. So customer service, like I understand that we're in compliance, but if there's targets that we're trying to meet or anything like that, I think that would be good for the public to be able to see, and whether we reach them by the end of the year or not. And I apologize that you stayed for this, like, because it's the last report. I didn't realize you were coming, but okay, because it wasn't a lot of information. Those are just kind of things that I thought maybe would be beneficial for the public to see as to what Port Colborne's actually specifically doing in those 5 key areas, as opposed to the infrastructure.
Mary?
Sure, and through the mayor to the councillor, we are compliant, as you said, in all of the areas. We have all the necessary policies, programs, procedures. They are reviewed yearly. We are getting ready to roll out yearly training to our staff. We're going to push it to the fall because the summer is never a good time to do those things, but certainly we can provide an update on those every year. We weren't able to do these audits, of course, during COVID, and then there was other circumstances beyond our control that further delayed them. So there were a lot of things identified, and we chose to sort of focus on these because we want to make sure that our facilities are more than what's required, and we want people to come in and be able to use all aspects of our facility. So this has been our key focus, but certainly we can bring back a report at the end of the year and years forward that focus on those things.
I just think it would be beneficial to see, like I know things have already been compliant, but there's always room for additional items. So if there are things that come up or suggestions that come up from the public, it'd be nice to see those in the report by section.
Great, thank you. Further questions? If I could have Councillors Aquilina and Hoyle move that the Corporate Services Department Report 2024-118 be received. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, that ends that. Are there any notices of motion? We have one set of minutes of boards and committees, Port Colborne Museum, Heritage and Cultural Board meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024. If I could have Councillors Beauregard and Bagu move that. Questions to those minutes? All in favor? Those are carried. Okay, we will be returning to in camera. So we thank everybody for attending tonight, and for those that are watching us on WeeStream, we will not be returning to WeeStream when we come out of in camera. So please have an enjoyable weekend. And remember the events that I said earlier. Hopefully you can attend as many as that are available to you on the weekend. Thank you very much.